relationships. It's a big favor of Allah. And so that's why, as we start the topic, or as we discuss this topic, the first and foremost thing for us to realize is that it can only, a beautiful and a blissful and a peaceful marriage can only come really and truly from Allah Rabbul Izzati Jalla Jalaluhu. And that's why Allah made it from the descriptions of Ibadur Rahman, from the servants of Ar-Rahman. Allah says, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. Allah describes the Ibadur Rahman in Surah Al-Furqan. And then Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. And those who make dua to Allah, oh Allah, grant for us from our spouses and our children قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ, comforts of our eyes. And make us, Ya Allah, imams of the muttaqeen. Make me a muttaqi myself and make me a leader for the muttaqeen. Allow for me to be a role model of taqwa, of piety, of devotion for my children and for my progeny and for my grandchildren and so on. And so yes, this discussion is important, it's powerful. But I think I've stressed it enough that ultimately success in marriage can only come from Allah. And that's why dua is so powerful, so extremely important, and it's so powerful. So for those who are already married, I don't know if there's anyone married here in this crowd? Oh yes, mashallah. Anyone married as well? That's why you're smiling all day, mashallah. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Who's considering marriage very soon? Allah, mashallah. That's why Brother Talha organized this talk, because it's a personal benefit for him. Mashallah, tabarakallah. Okay, who's thinking marriage in about the next 4 or 5 years? Can I see your hands? The sisters can't see you, don't worry. Or can they? Okay, khalas. And who's thinking never am I getting married? Anyone like that? Alhamdulillah, you guys are okay. Sometimes you have people like that. They're so traumatized from the stories and the experiences of marriage. No, I'm not getting married. I'm never getting imprisoned. That's the kind of mindset many men have. But inshallah, Allah will give you freedom through your marriage. Bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. Bi'idhnillah. Ameen Rabbil Alameen. Okay, so brothers and sisters, even before all of the talks of the fiqh, you know how to do the khutbah. You know there's two, khutbah and khutbah. Khutbah is what I do, or what the imam does. But khutbah is what you do, which is the proposal, which is a formal proposition. And in Bangla, we speak Bangla, right? They have a technical term for this. Yes, they call it Sindi Fan. It's an occasion, but the whole point of it is that you commit yourself to marriage, and then after you have the ijab and the qabul, or you have dekha deki and other words. I don't know what the other various beautiful languages you have and the different terminologies in there. But the point is that even before the khutbah and the aqdul nikah and my rights and her rights and my responsibilities and her responsibilities and what she's supposed to do for me and what I'm supposed to do for her and what you're expecting from your wife and what she's expecting from you, even before all of that, right? First and foremost, before we approach any of that, the person who can prepare themselves with sincere dua has prepared a lot. Right? That's why Allah taught us His dua in the Quran. And the stepping stone towards having a beautiful and successful life and beautiful children that are going to be muttaqi and abid and zahid and hafiz and alim and maulana and shaykh is that you sincerely make dua and you choose your spouse correctly. Based upon the method instructed by the Prophet ﷺ. Alright? Based upon the variables recommended by Islam, not by your own personal choice which may be against Islam. So from now, even though you're planning 5-10 years ahead, make dua sincerely. Oh Allah, Rabbana hab lana. This dua is for everyone. And that's how Allah made it from the descriptions of the Ibadur Rahman. He didn't say this dua is for the married people, or the divorced people, or those who are going through a rough patch. Normally, this dua we have to recommend it to those who are going through a rough patch. Imam, my marriage is in shambles. Can you please tell me a dua? I say, Akhi, recite this dua. But the reality is, this dua starts from the beginning. It's a part of your ibadah, it's a part of you being Ibadur Rahman. And let me tell you a funny point here, right? Sometimes when you are going through an argument with your wife, and I'm talking from experience because I've been married for 12 years, right? So sometimes when you're going through an argument with your wife, I think, you know what? Allah told me in the Quran I should make this dua. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا. But then shaitan comes and says, why on earth should you make dua for her? She annoyed you, bro. Forget it. She doesn't deserve this dua. But then you remind yourself, Ya Allah, I'm making dua for you. Because this is from the signs of Ibadur Rahman. This dua is to get close to Allah. It's a ibadah to Allah. It's not just for your wife. It's actually a devotion to Allah before anything else. So yes, prepare with dua from now. Sincerely. One of the great sheikhs, a great sheikh once said that for those who are married, they should recite رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ 3 times after every salah. That's his wird. And he said that based upon the amount of fitna and fasad out there in the world today. Fitna facing the married and the unmarried. Fitna that's dragging you towards divorce and marriage breakdown. Fitna and fasad and ideologies and isms that are targeted directly towards the nuclear family. Right? So Rabbana. Abundantly. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam traveled from Egypt to Madian. And he's knackered. He's tired. And he helps that family, the 2 women, right? وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ امْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. And he helped the 2 women to feed, to get water for their flock and for their home. ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ. And then eventually he was so shattered, so knackered, so tired, so hungry, so thirsty, in a foreign land, in a foreign place. He has no one to turn to for help. He says, Ya Rabb, قال رب إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير. Oh Allah, any good you give me, I need it. Whatever Ya Allah you give me, I'm ready to take it. Because he desperately resorted to Allah at this moment in time. We recite thereafter, فجاءت إحداهما تمشي على استحياء قالت إن أبي يدعوك ليجزيك أجر ما سقيت لنا. Momentarily, a few moments later, one of the 2 women that he helped comes back and says, my dad wants to speak to you. Come. And so the process begins. And says, okay. When he eventually meets their father, he says, I want you to help me in this farming of mine, and your reward will be that I will allow for you to get married to one of my daughters. But that was the reward of a sincere dua that he made. Right? And so we realize that our spouses, for the husband, the wife, and for the wife, the husband, is from the biggest of favors of Allah. So start your dua sincerely from today. And be consistent in it, because from the secrets of dua is that you are sincere and you are consistent every time. Right? Many of us are making dua for Philistine. And we feel like our energy and our stamina for the dua is slowly diminishing with Ramadan having come and gone. This has been ongoing for more than 6 months. And we feel like, how much longer are we supposed to make dua for? But that's the secret of dua. Dua is supposed to be consistent with the same level of energy, and that requires sacrifice. Sayyidina Ayyub alayhi salatu wasalam was stuck with this illness for 18 years, but he did not give up. And Allah gave him eventually, وَآتَيْنَاهُ أَهْلَهُ وَمِثْلَهُم مَّعَهُمْ رَحْمَةً مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا وَذِكْرَى لِلْعَابِدِينَ. Allah gave him his family and children and more as a blessing from Allah and as a reminder for the believers. Yes. Right, now that you've made dua, you've got your mindset correct, that your wife is a favor to you, a ni'mah of Allah upon you. And for the wife, the husband is a favor of Allah upon you, not the other way around. Because a lot of the times you think, I'm the gift to my spouse. The wife is thinking, he's lucky to have me. And you're thinking, you know what, bro, she's so lucky to have me. Look at me, man. You're admiring yourself in the mirror more than she's admiring you. Subhanallah. You're thinking, look at me, I've got a perfect teeth line, connecting the beard line. Look at my perfect jaws. I'm hench, I work out, perfect height. Come on, what's there not to like about me? No. The favor, you realize your spouse is a ni'mah of Allah upon you. Right. Next thing, step 2, is education, is knowledge. There is no greater skill that you can have with conflict resolution, with marriage problems, than knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge and wisdom. Almost all of the marriage preparations out there are to do with colors. Oh, I'm going to wear a beige color though. My friends are going to wear beige color thobe with me, we're going to do the nikah, and subhanAllah, it's going to be so beautiful and magical, and the sisters thinking. It's all about colors and decoration, which is fine. It's important, it's nice, I get it. But if we were to spend a fraction of that time and energy for actual knowledge on what is marriage, and the knowledge around marriage, the Quranic ayat and the hadith around it, then the result would be different. There are beautiful books written on the topic, like that Healthy Marriage by Mufti Mangera, right? There are a series of lectures, and like this one as well, lectures like these that are organized. This knowledge is very important. It's the biggest, most powerful tool that you can acquire for your successful and your blissful and your happy marriage, inshallah, which is knowledge and wisdom from Allah that's come from divine revelation. Number 2. Number 3, beloved brothers and sisters. The Prophet ﷺ has laid out the things to search for in your spouse very clearly in the hadith. He said, تُنْكَحُ الْمَرْأَةُ لِأَرْبَعٍ. A woman is married for 4 reasons, or 4 main characteristics, 4 main descriptions. And similar could be said about the men too. For her, I will not say in a particular order, I will say in the 4, I will just list them. For her lineage and for her family. Now when I say for her, the same applies to men as well. For your lineage and for your family too. Which family you come from, what's the background, what's the upbringing. And now here, a lot of us, we're struggling with this expectation from our sort of our historic expectations in marriage, and what we think is now the norm. So for example, traditionally, when you look to get married and you are considering a person as a potential spouse, then the family would be very keen to find out what's their village, what's their language, what's their social status. Now today in the UK and in the West, we see this as irrelevant, and it is somewhat irrelevant. But then in place of that, and in exchange of that, what we need to do is look at social circles. Right? Like they say, show me your friends and I'll tell you how you are as a person. So your hasb and your lineage is important. Your social circles are important because they shape you as a person. So now if the sister is considering one of the brothers for marriage, then it's very important that she knows, first of all, what kind of upbringing you had in your childhood, what kind of family you came from. You want, if the sister wants a man who praises 5 salawat and is a hafidh al-Quran and has great akhlaq and adab, then she needs to look at a person who comes from such a family. Because usually speaking, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So if it's a good family, the chances are that the guy should also have good akhlaq, good adab, good characteristics. And furthermore, it's not just the guy himself, it's not just the groom himself, it's not the person themselves, it's also that when you get married, you are dealing with the entire new setup of family. Don't think in your imagination and in your thinking of romanticized thinking of marriage that it's just going to be me and my spouse and that's it, happily ever after. No, marriage is very complicated. When you are involved in marriage, you are involved with the family too, right? So if they come from a good, kind, understanding, Islamic, good akhlaq, good adab family, then you know that when they treat you, they will treat you well. They will respect you, they will value you. That's one element to it. The second element is social circles, and I cannot stress this enough. Right? Who are the kind of people that she hangs around with? If her friends reflect, and I said for the brothers one element now, so I'll make it fair, right? If her friends reflect characteristics and habits that you don't like, then khalas, maybe, and she's hanging around with them, then this is an indicator. Maybe she is different, right? But the chances are, over time, these things do rub on. These things do rub on, and this is something very, very important to realize. So yes, you can say maybe she's different or maybe he's different, but the reality is it's safer for you to go and choose a person if that's what you want. If you want to hafidh al-Quran, someone that's hanging around with the huffaz and the imams and the ISOC brothers and etc., right? Or the ISOC sisters who are the dedicated, giving their time and their energy for the society, doing good work for the deen and for the da'wah. Social circles are very important. And it doesn't just end there. I think in today's society, also social media. Yeah? I don't want to give too many ideas, but I think I would be interested if I was to reconsider marriage today again, in knowing who my spouse is following and what kind of ideas she prefers to think in. Who is she influenced by? Who is she inspired by? Is it some strange, ajib people who have nothing to do with the deen? Or are they good, practicing people who fear Allah, who are known for taqwa, who are known for being authentic and religious people? Now, no one has to enforce anything on anybody, but this is your free choice. You're making the choice. You can choose this or you can choose that. So, yes, upbringing, family, social situation, social status, this is what I think it means in today's society. Where you come from as a person. What's the thinking you come from? What's the mindset you come from? What's the educational background you come from? Yes, this all constructs and makes who you are as a person. Whatever contributes towards your upbringing and your formation in your mind, in your psychology, in your thinking, in your akhlaq, in your taste, yes, this is all important. Number 2 is, of course, beauty. So you have to be attracted to your spouse. Islam isn't telling you that you don't have to be attracted to your spouse. Attraction should be there. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ encouraged that you should look at your spouse so that love can develop and love can be built. And he allowed for the Sahaba and Sahabiyat in the case of marriage, when they're seriously considering marriage, to see on multiple occasions, with of course the correct setup, not being in khalwa. Khalwa is only in the previous, just you and the other person. It has to be in a public space. It should be with mahram as well, right? But when that setup is correct, you can meet 1, 2, 3. We have a social norm which is once or twice, right? You meet in chaiwala nowadays once, maybe, or non-stop, wherever you like. And then the next meeting is probably in a more formal restaurant. And then there you go, khalas, it's da'wat here and there, this house and da'wat, and rishta are coming, and dekhadaki is happening, and there you go. The plans are fully underway. But the situation is, the reality is, if you want to meet more times, once, twice, 3 times, this is okay as long as you have the correct setup, without khalwa. Right? And don't think of it as dating, because then you're going to go into other problems, right? But think of it as a build-up to your choice of spouse who you're trying to understand. And there's no limitations in the Sharia of how many times this can happen. But again, don't take the mick. Right? If you're just trying to say, I'm going to carry on doing this with this sister, meeting her again and again throughout the entire uni life, and then at the end, okay, sorry, I made a mistake, that's the end of it. You can't do that. You have to be seriously considering the marriage, because Allah knows your heart. Allah knows your mind. So if your mind is saying, I'm just playing games here, I'm just wasting someone's time, then Allah will give you sin for that. But if in your mind, in your heart, Allah knows this person sincerely looking for marriage, then Allah will give you reward for that. So Allah knows our hearts, because innamal a'malu binniyat, right? So yes, Jamal and beauty is important. So you should be attracted to your spouse. And not everyone's attraction is the same. Right? So that's why it's important that you shouldn't be listening to every other person about their opinions about what they think of your spouse. And if someone has this guy, forget him, man. I would give him a 5 out of 10. Sister, if you find him to be 10 out of 10, khalas, that's your choice. Allah has chosen him for you to be in your heart. So beauty is also in the eyes of if you like the person, subhanAllah, Allah has made someone for everyone. In the exceptional cases, there are those who live single lives. But you'll find everyone, of all different languages, of all different social backgrounds, financial backgrounds, they all end up getting married at some point in their life. Allah has made someone for everyone. This is a favor of Allah, and this is from the signs of Allah. So beauty is important. Which also means now in the context of marriage that, beloved brothers and dear sisters, look after yourself. Look after yourself. Take care of your physical health. Take care of your mental health. Take care of your spiritual health. Yes, your piety and your closeness to Allah. There's no harm in that. You should go and work out. I should practice what I preach first, right? I'm not doing enough working out recently. But you should go and work out. You should be fit. Because the hadith also says the strong believer is more beloved to Allah than the weak believer. But in both is good. But then, when you do go and work out in the gym, it's not for your Instagram stories to show, look at me. MashaAllah, my biceps are slowly ripping, you get me. And then you're slowly showing my aura is covered, so let me show my packs. Actually, you show that specifically to a person, you should have some haya as well, right? Have some haya. If your intention of showing your packs above even your navel, right, is to go and attract females, then this is not haya. And this is against your aura, this is against the haya and the method and the way of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba and the pious believers, right? Do you imagine that the Sahaba were working around? They had very strong bodies, because they were struggling for the path of Allah. They were surviving on very minimal food. They had amazing bodies. But were they out there trying to show it off too? A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. We can't even imagine this. So yes, take care of yourself. Be strong. Be beautiful. Be handsome. Do what you need to do to look after yourself. But it's not for flaunting. Okay? It's preserved for the special person in your life. So yes, li jamaliha. And then there's also wealth. Wealth is important. Money is important. Right? And we know that. I don't need to stress that to you. But the point is, I will give this piece of advice. Especially for sisters. If you are used to a particular type of lifestyle, which is very expensive, and you know that this brother can't provide it, then it's probably better that you reconsider. Now, it sounds a bit harsh, but the reality is, I'd rather say it to you now, then you get married, and then she's expecting you to take her to Bicester Village every other weekend, and buy lots of gifts that are branded, but you can't afford. You might as well make those arrangements from beforehand. Know your social and your financial expectations. And that's why the religion of Islam is a very realistic religion. It's a very practical religion. You should ideally be from similar financial backgrounds. But in the case of the man, if the man is, mashallah, very wealthy and the sister's not matching that financial background, it's not a problem, because at the end of the day, the financial burden is upon the husband. So it's not a problem. But the point is, mal and financial expectation is very important. Don't choose, and this is an advice to the sisters, don't choose a poor guy and then say he has to use credit cards to buy you expensive gifts. That's dhulum, ya akhi. This is oppression. He can't afford it, leave him alone. Then he should have chosen better in the first place. He's telling you, no, I work as a pharmacist, not as a doctor. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, sorry. Sometimes pharmacists make more money than doctors, and sometimes the other way around. Khalas. But in any case, if you know that this guy, you're expecting this kind of salary or wage, then you settle with that. You make that decision beforehand, and then afterwards, khalas, alhamdulillah, I made my decision. Now whatever comes, alhamdulillah. Don't enforce it. Don't bully. Don't pressure. This is very important, because this bullying, right, element of bullying into spending more, it starts from early sometimes. Oh, it's okay, I'm happy with whatever I get. But then, subhanAllah, the mahar, you can afford 5K, but they're saying, no, ya akhi, this bride, there's no bride like her in the whole world. 15K minimum, mahar. And then you go gold shopping, and if you know what your expectations are, and match it in that way. But also remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in your mind, that the most blessed of marriages are those which are least burdensome. Don't make it difficult. Don't be a difficult person. This is from the Sunnah. Don't be a difficult person. That's for men and women. Some guys, they're so difficult. I'm not going to name him, but I have got a friend. He takes pride in this. I've got a friend, he's been married for a long time, mashallah, so he's successful in marriage. But he takes pride in it. He said, you know me, yeah? When I got married, guess who still occupies most of the wardrobe? I was like, I don't know, your wife. He goes, no, me. This is his way of showing, like, look, I need to have X amount of hoodies, X amount of bottoms, X amount of trainers. He's got like 25, 30 pairs. Give it away, man. But that's just him. But it works out because his wife is understanding, and they get along. It's fine. They figured it out. But the point being is, right, don't be a difficult person. Sisters, don't be difficult. Sisters' family shouldn't be difficult. Brothers, don't be difficult people. Be easy. Yassiru. Make it easy. Bashiru wa la tunaffiru. Be givers of glad tidings. Make matters easy. Ad-deen, even Allah made your religion easy. If Allah wanted, He could have given you 50 salawat, but He gave you 5 salahs. If Allah wanted, He could have said 50% of your wealth goes to a zakat, but He said 2.5%. If Allah said you have to go to Hajj every 2 years, He could have done so, but He made it once in a lifetime. Khalas? So Allah has been kind to you. And the hadith says, if you are not merciful to people, then Allah will not be merciful to you. So yes, financial similarity, financial understanding, financial expectation should be clarified from the onset, so that you don't pressure and bully each other afterwards. Another thing is, brothers, I know situation in society is different now. Many sisters do work. Many sisters do work. And if you're happy with that, if you're happy with your wife working, and if she's happy to work, right? then still understand that financial responsibility has been specified by the Sharia. Yes, socially you may expect your wife to chip into the bills, but can you hold her to account to it? No, you cannot. But in a similar way, the caretaking of the house, the responsibility of it falls upon the sister. I can't sugarcoat that and hide it. This is in the Athar, this is in the Sunnah, and if you say, well, where's the proof? I'll give it to you one. When the Prophet ﷺ received some servants to distribute, and when Fatima radiallahu anha wa ardaha, the wife of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, why did she go to her father? To ask for a servant to help with the housework. Correct? What does that indicate? That the maintenance of the house ultimately is upon the mother of the household, the queen of the house. Right? Now, you may both be working. You may expect the husband to help at home. But if you're both at work, then ultimately the responsibility will still fall upon the queen of the house, just like ultimately the expenditure would fall at the end of the day upon the husband, upon the man of the house. I wish I could say it in a way that's more in line with the ideologies of today, but I can't. Because we're representing Islam, not any particular ism out there. Right? So yes, have understanding, have conversation, know the kind of expectation you have, upbringing, mindset. Get these things clear out of the way beforehand, especially in today's day and age. You know, you can go into the nitty-gritty to an extent. What do you expect me to do in terms of housework? What do you expect me to do? The woman can ask, the man can ask. And so if you are compatible, then khalas, so that you don't fight afterwards. So that there's no bickering and argumentation afterwards. Khalas? Okay. But ultimately, my dear sister, my dear brother, don't be difficult, be easy. If you're going to be a perfectionist and be very nitty-gritty and a difficult person, you will probably be miserable forever. You know, once a man came to an imam and said, Sheikh, I want a wife. I want to get married. Sheikh said, okay, what do you want the wife to have? Oh, Sheikh, she should be this height. She should be beautiful. She should be pious. She should be a hafiz of the Quran. She should be... And the list went on. Imam said, I have exactly the woman that you're looking for. Oh, that was quick. I thought it was going to take a good few months, a good few years to find that perfect spouse. He said, oh, she's in Jannah waiting for you. Not in this dunya. Dunya is full of imperfections, you know. Another person said, yeah, Sheikh, please find me a very pious wife. You know, all the good qualities, obedient, and you know, she should expect the fact that I'm the leader of the house and all of that stuff, you know, men talk about and they expect, right? And the man said, okay. And then he said, I want a wife like Fatima radiallahu anha wa arda, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Imam told him, you have to become like Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib. You know, you want a good wife, the wife wants a good husband, then we have to match that with quality. Allah said in the Quran, الطيبات الخبيثات للخبيثين والخبيثون للخبيثات والطيبات للطيبين والطيبون للطيبات. Allah prepares good people for good people. So one of the best ways of attracting a good person, good energy, good people, is by being a good person ourselves. So we come to number 3, which is wealth and financial standing. And in the discussion of kafa'a in marriage, in the more detailed marriage courses, we speak about kafa'a and what are the things to be considered in kafa'a and similarity in both the spouses before marriage is, you know, before you proceed with it. And last but not least is for their piety. For their piety. For their closeness to Allah. Now this is a very misunderstood factor sometimes. Because piety, beloved brother and sister, is not just what you show on the outside. Wallahi, this is not. At-taqwa hahuna. Taqwa is in the heart. Taqwa is in the heart. Taqwa is what's internalized, not what's external. You know, I don't judge a person's taqwa by looking at the size of their beard or the length of their thawb. Though, of course, outer appearance and how you carry yourself with your awra and your haya is very much telling. That is not the final factor and that is not the decisive factor. Right? So when I say look for a pious person, you people usually say, oh, mashallah, the guy, I see him in the masjid all the time. But I can guarantee you this, many guys, they come to the masjid all the time until they get married. They're trying to impress her father. And when the marriage is done, khalas, I'll pray at home, it's jais. I'll do jama'ah with my wife. You know, khalas, I'll get the same ajr. So, no. It's not just what's external. it's piety from within as well. It's very important. And piety also includes good character. Right? One of the best, the most important features of a pious believer is that you have good character, good akhlaq, good adab. MashaAllah, someone prays their 5 salah, someone's even an imam of a masjid somewhere. Hafidh al-Quran, has qiraat, but he's a rude person. He's very stingy person, he's a rude person, he's a disrespectful person, he's an arrogant person. Then I'm sorry. That's not the piety that we're supposed to search for. MashaAllah, you're good for the field that you work in, you're probably fine there. But as a person who you're going to commit your life to, your spouse, your husband, then you have to look at akhlaq and the adab and the muasharat more importantly. Because in the house, he's not the imam of the masjid, is he? In the house, he's not the sheikh that's giving durus outside. In the house, he's a human being. In the house, he's your husband. In the house, he's a father to your children. In the house, he's your spouse. He's your friend. So you have to look at adab, akhlaq, characteristics, mannerisms, how they speak, how they talk, how they carry, the body language as well, yes. Yes, body language is more telling of communication than sometimes verbal language. We know this. So yes, piety, thorough piety. Look at the level of piety that you're seeking for and see if it's consistent with the different parts of being a Muslim. Your salawat, your ibadah, that's fine. Your tilawah, your dhikr, everything's there, but also your akhlaq. And similarly for the sisters. MashaAllah, the sister may observe her hijab. If the sister doesn't have good character, then this is not consistent with piety, is it? I have to start with the brothers first, yeah, so that people don't think I'm being unfair, right? And brothers, MashaAllah, I can see your faces, I can see how you're reacting to it, so inshallah it's fine. So sisters, I don't want anybody to misunderstand me, okay? I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, ultimately, right? Because, wallahi, whenever I conduct a nikah, wallahi, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I wish them the best. Why? Because marriage and the institution of marriage is the first building block of our society. Right? When a marriage is broken, shaitan celebrates. Why? Because he has broken the most fundamental part, the building block of our society. And that's why Islam has given so much importance to it. Right? If you can hold on to your family properly, maintain a good family relationship, and make it healthy and strong, and make it a household and a home of dhikr and of Quran and of piety and sincerity and obedience to Allah, then you have made a huge contribution to the ummah. Right? You might be thinking that this guy is a political leader, so he's making a big contribution to society. That's not always the case. Sometimes someone may be externally, mashallah, big sheikh, big leader, but at home, no one even likes them. Because they're so evil and they're so harsh and they're so rude. Whereas the other person may be spending time with their family, making sure everyone's okay, the children are being brought up correctly, they're learning what they're supposed to learn, the adab, akhlaq, the salah, the love of Allah and the Rasul. They are perhaps more successful than the person who externally seems to be successful. And what's unfortunate is that many Islamic teachers and imams, they have to give so much time outside, their own family miss out. This is unfortunate. And this is often because of how society works, because people end up paying their imam so less. The guy has to do like 10 jobs. So he barely gets any time with his kids. So his kids are not even getting what the maktab students are getting. The evening madrasa students are getting. It's a sad reality of society right now. So the point is, ultimately, piety consistent. And when you choose your spouse, you're choosing your future. You are choosing your future whether you like it or not. Right? And remember that the ayah of the Quran that said, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, to find sakina with your spouse. If you don't find peace in your family, in your household, wallah, you'll be a sad person. Even if you're very, very successful in other ways. Your home is your palace. You have to feel sakina and comfort in it. No amount of money, no amount of fame, no amount of glamour can give you peace and sakina unless Allah gives it. And that probability of Allah giving it is increased when you do your preparation in the correct way, which is dua, which is to seek out the features that the Prophet ﷺ was told to seek out for, but especially giving precedence and importance to piety. And not any kind of piety, complete piety, thorough piety, consistent piety, adab, akhlaq, muasharat, muamalat, how they deal with their family, how they deal with their parents, how they deal with their siblings. It's very important. Sometimes, wallahi, this is strange, right? Sometimes some people even celebrate if a person is not so close with their family, especially their parents. Some men are strange like that. Wallahi, I've met them. They want their wife to be distant from their parents. It's crazy. This whole distancing a person from their parents, whether it's the man doing it to the woman or the woman doing it to the man, it's a big sin. When you break ties of kinship, do you know what you're doing? Breaking ties of kinship is a kabira, is a major sin. Hadith Qudsi says if you want to be distant from Allah's mercy, those who cut off ties of kinship are those who are distant from Allah's mercy. Cut off from Allah's mercy. So yes, you love the person, you want to spend your time with the person, but that doesn't mean they should come in the way between a person's duties and their responsibilities to the rest of humanity, to the rest of the world. Right? You get married to, for example, a sister from a big family. She wants to go to see her mom. She wants to go and see her sister. She wants to go and see her nephews. She wants to spend time with them, but also spend time with you. Of course, she has to have her priorities correct. Then why should it be an obstruction in that regard? Some guys are strange. Wallah, I think it's more in the previous generations. I know some of the uncles from Bangladesh, they take pride. I've never been to my in-laws in 10 years. You're a crazy guy, man. Go and enjoy the food. But it's like he's so arrogant, he's so proud. Like, I'm nothing. Because they see visiting your in-laws as a sign of being a weak man, being too much in love with your wife. This is not from the deen. This is not from Islam. Trust me, go to your in-laws. If they're going to make you food, it's going to be the most delicious food ever. But let me give you a piece of advice for those who are not used to having big foods. Because I was, in my younger days, I used to go to boarding madrasa, boarding school. And we used to having one curry and one rice or bread, whatever, right? So one curry dishes. So that's how I'm brought up. It's quite difficult, quite tough. So then I get married, and mashallah, they're foodies. They love their food. I got 12 items in front of me. I mean, mashallah, meat curry looks nice. So I stuff myself with the meat. Then I'm stuck. You have to try everything else. So it becomes like a adab, it's like a big punishment. But with years, I know how to proportion it. Bit of rice for each curry. You save, you plan it. There's a way of planning the whole journey over the 10 curries or 5 curries. You say, okay, we're going to go, that's the direction. We're going with the kurma first. We're going with the tandoori first. We're going with the fish second. Something like that. So you plan it like that. But the point is, maintaining that beautiful relationship with your in-laws. Don't be crazy, wallahi. Be normal. Okay, and if you don't know what that means, study the deen. Study the seerah. Study adab and akhlaq. Speak to aimam and mashayikh. Don't be haughty and proud. And don't be hasty. The saddest thing, one of the saddest things also is I'm saying a bunch of different stuff together, but it's fine. You can ask me questions anyway. One of the strangest things is that brothers and sisters are so quick to want to get married. Right? They're quick to go to the sheikh and say, Sheikh Imam, please, nikah, get it done. And sometimes I get the strangest of calls. Sheikh, we're doing nikah today after Asr. I'm like, well, akhi, what happened? Why did you plan this from beforehand? I was like, okay, how many people am I expecting? Wallahi, not many. Sheikh, can you arrange a witness for me as well? I'm like, okay, whoa, what's going on here? Seems like, the point is, you want to speak to the mashayikh and the sheikhs when it comes to getting the marriage done. But when it comes to breaking the marriage, oh, no, I don't need no advice. I don't need no imam. Oh, give divorce 10 times, 100 times. Some men say, I give you a divorce 1,000,000 times. You can only give 3 anyway. So I don't know what he's saying in the first place. Probably cancels it out because he used a very unrealistic number. But the point is, just like in the beginning you take advice and counseling and you go to talks and understand how marriage works and the expectations, similarly, if you go through troubles, you also go to people of experience and knowledge and try to find out. Don't let your emotions overtake you. Be calm, be composed. Allah said in the Quran that men are supposed to be the caretakers and the leaders of the home. But that, my brother, it comes with responsibilities. You're not supposed to be an emotional person who's having a fit every other few hours and few moments. And that's how you make your decisions emotional. No, you're supposed to be calm and composed to actually behave like a leader. Right? If you want to take that title and that responsibility of leader of the household as Allah has given it to you, then you have to fulfill that responsibility in a proper way. Okay? And in a similar way, same goes for the sisters. The honor and the dignities Allah has given to both the spouses is beautiful. And there are so many series and lectures, online, offline, you should listen to. We haven't got enough time now to talk about all the ahkam and the wajibat upon the husband and the wife. But these are general principles in how you should seek your spouse and what you should prepare for mentally, spiritually. Make dua sincerely, yes. And one of the questions in the post is love halal? I don't know, what does it mean by love here, right? If you mean loving your spouse, of course, this is not just halal, this is from the sunnah. This is a natural emotion, and you should express all of the love that you have towards those who are most deserving of it, starting with your parents and your children, your spouse and your siblings. And lastly, I want to say this, inshallah, and then we'll open the floor for questions. After marriage, people divide into 3 camps. We have one guy, and same goes for the sisters as well. We have one group who assume that they are still single, and they're going to behave like they're still single. They're out there until 1, 2, no consideration, no regard for the fact that they have taken on board one of the biggest commitments of their life. They are married. They have to give time to their house, to their family. And they will in fact rebel. They will be adamant, no, I have to stay out until 1 or 2 o'clock to prove my manhood. Otherwise I've become, there's a word for that. I can't say it. You probably can say it, but I can't say it right now. Right? I have to prove my manhood by being out until late. Once in a while we expect, it's normal, right? But this group of people who are the first group, who want to prove to themselves and trying to hold on to their being a azib, being a single person, unmarried, they are not the right group. Don't be from them. And then we have the other group, which are on the other extreme. When they get married, they disappear completely. You call them 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, they don't even pick up. I'm just trying to find out if you're still alive, or has she kidnapped you? What's happening out here? They disappear completely. And that's another extreme. Same for the sisters. You disappear because your parents can't get hold of you. Your friends, your closest friends, your brothers, sisters can't get hold of you. They don't get any time. You're so interested and so deep in your marriage that you don't have time for anybody. That's another extreme. The balance is that you give due rights to everyone. Allah has rights over your time. Correct? Your parents have rights over your time. Your parents should get to see you regularly. Your children. Okay, and I will say children, yes, because often you do get married to someone who's already got children. Khalas? That is the reality. So we do nikahs where the man has already got 3 children and the woman's got another 2 children and they get married together. Sometimes these children are living with their mother, which may be from a previous marriage. So now your parents have a right over your time. Your children have a right over your time. Your siblings have a right over your time, yes. Your brothers and sisters should get to see you. And of course your spouse has a right over your time. But not just time, also money. Right? Just like you spend generously with your spouse, you should also spend money with your parents. And the other person shouldn't interfere like, oh, okay, so that's an expensive gift for your mum there. So what? I mean, let me spend, what's wrong with you? Alhamdulillah, Allah's giving me, it's not like I'm not spending on you, I'm not taking it from your portion, or I'm not making you starve to give them, right? These things have to be in balance. When you lose that balance, it may be okay for a temporary period of time, but on the long run, it's detrimental. So try your best to maintain a balanced life. Support each other to fulfill their rights towards Allah. The guy says, I want to go to the masjid to pray. Like, oh no, it's going to take too long, 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back. Just pray out. He wants to go to the house of Allah to get close to Allah. Probably going to make dua for you as well. Khalas, let him go. But ya akhi, when you go, don't say masjid and then mashallah, you're gone somewhere else afterwards. not back for many, many hours. So that balance is really, really important. May Allah bless you all, and may Allah grant you all happiness and success and joy and the beauty of life and akhirah in your marriages and in your future. Say Ameen. Ameen. Barakallahu feekum jami'an. Alhamdulillah, we all started off a bit there are some sad faces, but now I can see everyone's more or less smiling. And this topic usually has that effect on people. Inshallah, if there are any questions, we'll take them now. And I'm happy to take enough questions because this is a topic that has a lot of questions usually. Go ahead. That's fine.
Questions on here, I'll read them out to you, inshallah.
No problem, inshallah.
Brothers, any questions to start off with? Bismillah.
Salam. Barakallahu feekum. Ahlan wa sahlan.
So a I wanted to become a dialogue. It's a question, general basis about character. So obviously a lot of your talk is about after marriage. So my question is more about before marriage. Universities are a hotbed of activity where you might be able to meet someone who could become your potential spouse. So how does one navigate and get to know someone's character in a halal way? And because beforehand you did mention about meeting 2-3 times and all the rest of it, but not meeting too many times, because that could cause issues. So the point is, after marriage.
And the second part I didn't say. I never said there's too many times. I said your intention shouldn't be just to waste someone's time. But apart from that, if you are wanting to meet someone many, many times, with a halal intention, with a pure intention, while also being in the correct setting, which is not one of privacy, it's an open place. Not in khalwa, in open space. And the reality is in the university life, you're often meeting many people of different, male and female are mixed. It's not segregated. We know that for a fact. So you're often meeting in the library, in the halls, whatever, in the cafes and etc. So these are places you're already mixed in. Okay. If you choose to have a discussion in one of these tables or places where it's open, it's not private, nothing wrong can happen in that regard, and you want to ask someone some questions about what they expect from their married life, from their spouse, from their husband, from their wife, then I think inshallah there's not a problem with that. This is not going to be haram. Again, while your intention is clean and while your mindset is clean, because if you're there sitting there with shahwa, with desire, with trying to enjoy in a wrong way, in an illicit way, in a corrupt thinking, then this would be haram. Allah knows your heart. But if you're having a genuine conversation to get to know the person while not being in khalwa, don't say, mashallah, we're going to go for a private drive somewhere in the night and then say, I will get to know each other. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's about public setting. You're in a restaurant, in a cafe, in a hall where there's a lot of people, and then you're having a discussion like that. Ideally, there should be a mahram, but I know uni life, you can't just invite your mahram into university every few days. It's not realistic. So I'm talking in the context of university, just like us in university, because it is true, a lot of the time, a lot of parents will say, make sure you don't talk to anyone of the other gender, and then by the time you finish uni, they're like, you should, why are you not getting married yet? We need to get you married. But then all those years, the opportunity of finding someone, conversating, getting to know, potentials and etc., they would have been missed. So I think, while maintaining a genuine niyyah and a genuine public space, okay, these conversations, could take place.
We have a question here. In a marriage meeting, can I ask the potential spouse about their past, e.g. if they've been in haram relationships, etc.?
Okay,
if not, what would be a good alternative? And then another person said, together, when seeking for a wife, how do we go about questions regarding our past relationship with other females, which we have already regretted and repented for?
This is a very, very tricky question. Okay? It's a very tricky question because on the one hand, you may have done something wrong in your past, and you have done tawbah for it and Allah's forgiven you. But at the same time, a lot of the times, these previous experiences reflect upon your future relationships. Right? So you may say to the sister, the brother may say, khalas, it's my past, I don't want to talk about it. But if the sister is adamant to say, no, I want to know because I feel like this has shaped how you are as a person, then we're talking into the realms of the social norms or how they've been brought up. And so if a person is adamant to know a general history of what you've been up to, then I think they have a right to know, but not the detail. You can't say exactly like, how did it go, what did you do if it took on haram? I will know what I'm referring to, right? This is a bit strange, and I don't see why a person would want to know all those details. Khalas? But if someone says, have you been in another relationship before me? And you say, I don't want to talk about it, but she wants to know. So you have two options. You can either say, I don't want to talk about it, let's get married anyway, that's not going to work. Or you can say, khalas, I'll just share with you, this is what happened. And then hopefully if she's okay with that, then you can proceed. So if they are adamant, in summary, then they do have, I believe, a right to know a general history of what you've been up to in the past. So please maintain a clean history.
Do you recommend getting married, even though I'm unable to live with the spouse until after I finish university or start working?
I recommend that highly. I'm a big now. Okay, let me put into context. Yeah, I'm a big ambassador for for people of age, 18 and plus. Of course, we're talking about UK, right? UK context. people of age, of legal age, if they want to get married, while maintaining their rights and duties and responsibilities, knowing what they are, these should be listed, I believe. These should be understood clearly, that I am getting married to you after the age of 18, okay, we're doing nikah, and this is what I expect from you, because we're going to live separately, and this is what I expect from you, man, right? And we're going to live together like this because we're currently living, in university or at home, right? And we can't afford to live together yet. But we should spend, for example, weekends together. We should spend no other weekends together, fortnights together. This should be clearly laid out, because otherwise I've seen good examples of this, but I've also seen very bad examples of this. I've seen where nikah has been done and then walima has been later, and then in that time they've had so many fights, the walima gets called off. Or they just do the walima for the sake of it because they've given the da'wah to everyone, and now everyone knows about it. It's sharam, it's very shameful to now cancel it. So they do it as a show and they end up breaking the marriage anyway. This is bad. You don't want to get into that kind of mess. So be very clear, be very specific. This is how we're going to live for, say, for example, 1 year for this academic year, all right? And then inshallah we'll get a rented place together, or we're going to live with our parents, or you're going to move in with in our house, or I'm going to move in. Whatever your arrangements are, you speak about it clearly. And if there's any changes, please don't be unfair and don't be sly. Be clear, be upfront, say, Wallahi, I did say that we want to move in together, but I've just found out that this degree apprenticeship or this job I was planning to get, is not going to happen right now, so I can't afford to get home. So we're going to have to delay for another few months or another year. Is that okay? Can you please work this out? Be clear, because this is someone else's right. Spending time, living together is a right of marriage, it's a responsibility of marriage. That's how marriage works. This is only a temporary arrangement so that you can find your right match, and also you don't fall into haram. But please make this good, because I don't want someone to say, oh, this guy heard this imam is saying you should get married in uni. Khalas. This is not a uni marriage. So you graduate and then khalas, marriage ends as well. No, this is crazy stuff you're talking about. I've said it from the beginning. Marriage means commitment for lifetime. You don't say I'm getting married to you for a week. Yeah, marriage means you are until the end. Okay, you have a long-term commitment. That's the intention and niyyah. Go ahead.
In South Asian culture, especially Pakistani and Bengali, I found there's a stigma against getting the nikah done early or a period of time before
I know
people
about
go
this,
home, as it doesn't look good or people will talk. Especially in a time where fitna is so easy and accessible, how should we approach our Asian parents and get the nikah done earlier?
The best way to navigate negotiations with parents who are elderly and set in their ways is to know their friends. And it's to know people that they like and they trust. Now, this is not mischievous. We're not planning something against them. But it's because you want to, of course, lobby your interests. And so the best way to do that is to know someone they love and respect. Maybe it's an imam. Maybe it's the local imam of the masjid. And trust me, I get that a lot. Oh, Sheikh, my father, he comes and prays behind you, listens to your khutbah. I'm interested in this situation. Can you please negotiate for me? I'm like, okay, this is going to cost you big money now. This is nikah anymore. It's also lobbying. I'm joking. We don't charge for that. But of course, if it's a good match, we try to talk to them and try to mediate in that way, so there is no problem. So one of the best ways is to make them understand, because wallahi, even right now, I shouldn't be saying it, but right now, I'm in the process of negotiation with my mum. I'm 35. I've got 3 kids. I've been married for 12 years, but I'm trying to make my mum agree with me with something. And I could do it like this and upset my mum. But I've been delaying it for 4, 5, 6 months, and I'm happy to delay it for another 2 years or 3 years, as long as it takes until mum is happy. Right? And now you might say, I'm a mommy's boy. Yes, I'm a mommy's boy. You might say, I'm a coward. Khalas, I'm a coward. I'm scared to displease my parents. What's a bigger fear than to displease your parents which displeases Allah? The happiness of our parents is the happiness of Allah, and the happiness and the displeasure of our parents is the displeasure of Allah. So it's a very serious matter. So you have to be wise, you have to be patient, you have to be strategic, you have to be creative, you have to be thoughtful. What's going to work? Maybe buy them a nice gift, maybe arrange a holiday, maybe set up a umrah, and in front of the Kaaba you say, Mom, Dad, I love you so much, and this particular situation has come to me, and we're in the Kaaba right now, I wanted to make dua that this works out, and then you tell them what the situation is. This is no emotional blackmail, this is negotiation. So you have to be creative. Yes, wallah, you have to, because as long as they're happy, khalas, there's no bad dua like this. There's no evil du'as. If they're upset, angry, then they make du'as against you, then you're in trouble. But if they're happy in the heart, then khalas. You've bypassed that problem. So inshallah, be creative.
To follow up on that context, Sheikh, I'm stuck in a long-term haram relationship. I'm too scared to make it halal as my parents will definitely say no.
Akhi, wallahi, wallahi, akhi, think about it, man. You're too scared of your parents. What about, are you not scared of Allah? Come on, man. Yeah, akhi, come on, man. SubhanAllah, whoever you are. Sincerely beg Allah to guide your heart and give you the strength. Okay? Beg Allah. Beg Allah. I said beg, not ask. It's not for Allah, give me Allah. No. Allah doesn't need you, mate. You need Allah. You need Allah's favor. Go into sujood and beg Allah for hours. Once a man came to one of our Sheikh's masjids, and when I was in Cairo next to him, Sheikh Usama Abdul Azim, he was a great Sheikh, great Murabbi and a Zahid. And a man said, Sheikh, I just come from Sudan. I came for a medical treatment. I had 15,000 Junais, Egyptian pounds in my bag because someone stole it in Tahrir. Sheikh, what do you advise me to do? He said, stand here, pray 1,000 rak'at of nafal. You want Allah? Go to Allah. Allah's doors are open. You need something from Allah? Beg Allah. Do your nafal, do your sujood, put your time in, put your effort in. Khalas? And so if you want to get out of this haram relationship, beg Allah. Allah will open ways. Allah will open doors. And sometimes you have to close the door to open a better one. So maybe this particular haram relationship is not good for you. But when you turn to Allah, Allah will guide your heart. Allah will give you that confidence. You know what? This is not good for me. This person is not good for me. She is not the person I want to be with for the rest of my life. Or he is not that person I want to be with for the rest of my life. I don't want him to be the father of my children. But that starts with that guidance and that confidence and that trust that you build with Allah. And this, my friends, is not by going to public, public events, and that's not enough. It's private, intimate relationship with Allah. From the 7 groups that will be under Allah's, the shade of Allah's throne on Yawm al-Qiyamah is the person who remembered Allah in solitude and cried. So get close to Allah, man. That's the way. That's the ultimate cheat code in life is get close to Allah. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Run to Allah. If you're with Allah, if you have Allah, you have everything. If you're far from Allah, be scared. You have everything to be scared about. May Allah guide us all.
Is the person whom we will marry already written in our qadr? If so, is it the type of qadr that will change with dua? So if Allah has already written for me who I will marry, and I make dua to marry another person, will that change? If I make dua to marry a particular person, but maybe it's not khair for me to marry, will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prevent me from this marriage, or because I insist it will happen?
SubhanAllah, someone sounds like someone's very, very much in love. SubhanAllah. I don't mean to mock a situation, but it is a marriage discussion, so it's okay. A bit of humor is okay. Okay, so yes, hadith says that taqdeer, elements of it can be changed by dua. Okay, taqdeer and elements of it can be changed by dua. Okay, there's different levels of taqdeer, by the way. Taqdeer is the general picture, the broad taqdeer which is written for you before you're created. And then there's other elements of taqdeer which may be deferred, delayed, adapted, changed based on your dua and what you ask for. But let me give you a piece of advice. Billahi alaykum, please. Make this dua. Make dua to Allah. If you can do this, wallahi, you will be successful. Because I have seen people who are adamant to marry a particular person, and they got married to them and they regret it afterwards. Rather make dua to Allah. Oh Allah, if this person is good for me, then allow for this to happen. If this person is good for me, then facilitate it. Oh Allah, make it easy. Rather than saying, oh Allah, I love this person, give this person to me. Say, Allah, if this person is good for me, Allah, make it easy. And if this person is not good for me, then turn me away and turn them away from me. That's what istikhara is, right? The dua of istikhara, read it. That if in this matter there is good for me, then take me towards it. And if in this matter there is bad for me, then turn me away from it and turn it away from me. That's what istikhara is. You are seeking good from Allah and you're trusting Allah with that decision. With age, it becomes easier. With trust, it becomes easier. When you're young, I know, emotions are very strong, especially when you're single, right? Emotions are very strong. But if you can have that leap of faith, that trust, that tawakkul, and say, Ya Allah, I trust you more than I trust me. And so make that dua. Just make that dua sincerely from your heart. And see how Allah changes your heart. And if the person is good, Allah will make it easy. And if the person is bad, you'll see signs that the person is turning away. You're not feeling it that much anymore. You're not interested. Allah has ways of working the hearts. And the hearts are controlled by Allah. As you know. Okay, every single heart is controlled by Allah.
There's multiple questions within the university context. I want to approach someone. What is the best way to go about it?
Who's the head brother?
he has a tire puncture today. 'Cause he can't make it.
Okay, you don't want a head brother like that, because imagine it's one day you find a sister and it's got a tire puncture. Akhi, you need to change that Amir today. I'm joking. No, you should do it in a formal way, in a respectable way. Right? Speak to, for example, tell her, are you interested in the sisters today?
Shit, there's a lot of pressure.
Subhanallah. So if you're interested in the sister argument's sake, right? You don't be a bit respectable, be a bit romantic, be a bit in a way that makes her feel special as well. Khalas, maybe speak to one of the sisters that can speak to her. Indirect is always better, it's always safer, because you're gonna go and try and speak to her, you're probably gonna end up messing all up. You're gonna say, this guy's a weirdo, bro, forget it. I'm not getting mad to this guy. Rather, if it's a sister saying, you know what, mashallah, you see, tell her, we studying anything?
Medicine.
Maybe studying medicine, look at him, mashallah, tall guy, nice beard, good build. What's there not to? It's a good catch, good fish. And she might say in a way that's better for the situation. So yes, speak formally, indirectly is always better. I've seen experiences, all right? You can, of course, leave a note. But akhi, not everyone's into those kind of stuff, innit? You know, some guy's stalking me. You might send a complaint to the university, you might get banned from uni and all of that stuff. You don't want none of that. So speak to those who are respectable in your social circles and try to get that message across and see how it goes, inshallah. Make dua as well with sincere heart.
Sheikh, there is a well-known issue within the South Asian culture in regards to claiming the legitimacy of marriage is not until the walima and rukhsati is done. After nikah, there is strictly no contact or communication. Is it good to avoid conflict for the sake of Allah and allow my parents to have their way, to avoid them having to feel a need to explain themselves, especially since there's such a huge gap between my nikah and my walima?
I mean, if that's something you guys can agree upon, and if you can look in any situations where you have to displease one party, it's always better if you can please both parties. Khalas, so if your husband to be is happy with that, and if you're happy with that, if you can make that sacrifice, and your parents are happy with that, khalas, we're going to wait for 3-4 months. It's okay. We'll maintain, communications. When nikah's done, we'll speak to each other, we'll FaceTime each other, whatever. Khalas, we'll meet in uni. Right, whatever you say, right? But ultimately, if the whole moving in element is not good, but until walima is done, khalas, if you can please them, that's fine. But if you feel like, no, this is something I must do, I must move in with my spouse, until the walima, then maybe you should do a walima. But what I'm trying to say is, you can't easily discard the parents' interests. They're too important. Okay? Outside the parents, it's okay, it's negotiable how important their opinions are. But parents, you owe too much to them. So if you can please them in some way and keep them on board, then you're on the right track, inshallah.
I think someone's coming for you here. So why do a lot of Muslim men listen to their mums even when they are married and are mummy's boys?
Because Allah told us to, ya ukhti. Because Allah told us to. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا هُوَ بِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah said, Allah's decreed that you worship none but Him and be dutiful towards your parents, not your wife. He never said your wife here. He said in other places, be kind to your wife and look after them and etc. Show love and compassion. But in this particular context of order or priority, Allah said parents first, and that will never be undone. You can't undo that. This is biological history. I know you don't want to hear that probably, but the reality is we should respect that. And you know how I convince my wife sometimes, yeah? I tell her, listen, if I'm so kind to my mum, then the chances are my kids will be kind to you as well. She's like, oh yeah, that's kind of true. That kind of works sometimes. So I say, look, I'm trying to be obedient to my mum in this way. And let's make a bit of sacrifice. Let's be happy with the patience. And inshallah, you'll see that your 3 sons will also obey you like this and listen to you like this and respect. And you love it at that time because you're the mum then, right? But that's true. What goes around comes around. Kama tadinu tudan. How you treat others is how you're treated, especially even more so with those who have a bigger right over you, and that's your parents. So, wallahi, when I say mummy's boy, not with the negative connotations of being timid and undecisive and not being, masculine, not being someone who's a decision maker, who's a leader. But yeah, every single person, even if you're the king of the entire world, you have to know where your place is. Even if you're the king of the entire, the whole of UK, when it comes to mum, lower yourself, ya akhi. Who are you? You're no one. Allah says, وَخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ. Lower your wings. Belittle yourself. Humble yourself in front of your parents. You're nothing in front of them. You're indebted to them forever. Ever. Forever. You will never pay back your debt to your parents. So yes, being obedient to your mum and your parents is very important. It's what Islam wants. But that should not hinder you from fulfilling your rights to your spouse. Okay, that's not an excuse. You fulfill your rights to your wife still. And just like I said, you have to be creative and negotiate with your parents sometimes. Sometimes you have to be creative and negotiate with your wife as well sometimes. And say, Wallahi, the situation I'm in, Mom's not going to be too happy about it. So we can't do exactly the way you're wanting it. But inshallah, maybe we can go for a nice dinner in the Shard or something, and I'll buy some nice roses and take you out for a walk afterwards. And try to mitigate in that way, Actually be creative, and I don't have to give you tips written down. But try to maintain. This is the hard part, wallahi. I think the hardest part is maintaining everyone's interest and everyone being happy with you. It's not always going to work out, but you try your best. And the rest of it, leave it to Allah. Make dua sincerely. And Allah will guide your decision, and Allah will guide your heart, and Allah will guide your speech, and Allah will guide your words, and Allah will guide your actions, inshallah.
There's 2-3 questions from sisters on, am I allowed to add into the nikah contract a limitation on no more than one wife?
Yeah, there are schools of law that say you can. There are schools of law that respect that wish and that respect that condition, and you can indeed put into the contract saying that it's only me, mate. It's a one-way journey. You can do that, yes. In summary, yes, you can.
Okay, say, this is me adding it on. Say if a brother agrees to it when they're young and naive.
Are you trying to get married or are you trying to remain single?
No, and then in the future, the brother realizes I was young, I was naive, I made a mistake. He wants to marry another wife. What does he do?
You go back to the negotiating table.
Okay.
You start again from scratch and say, wife, listen, I made a mistake. She'll be like, yes, you did. I was young and naive. Yes, you were. She'll confirm all of that. And then you say, you want this? You'll be like, no way. Chances are, most likely. But you have to negotiate in that way. According to the schools of law that respect those conditions, you have to renegotiate because that's a shart that's binding and you agreed upon it. Okay? Any other questions?
Essentially, someone's saying they have a very strict requirement as a brother to live with their parents.
Okay.
How should they approach this with sisters?
Make sure that the sister's okay with it. Make sure, there's so many sisters out there. You can choose. There's so many sisters out there. If you are a successful person, if you're a high achieving person, if you're a person that attracts all the things that attracts towards people, mashallah, you do your studies properly, you do your whatever, income properly, you look after yourself in all senses, then, you'll be an attractive person, a person of interest. And so you'll have, inshallah, hopefully more than one option, hopefully. That's the idea. And if one sister says, no, I don't want to live with anyone's parents, khalas, sister, that's your choice. La ba's. You ask another sister, and she might be like, khalas, I'm okay with that because that's the kind of upbringing I had. And so it works out. But get it clear out the way beforehand.
If you have someone who you would like to marry, but they would only like to get married to you in 2 years, should you wait until that time to ask them for marriage? Should you try to talk to them into doing it now? How would you approach the situation?
I suppose there is no harm in trying to negotiate to do the nikah earlier. Talk them into, I'm assuming talk them into means trying to negotiate, trying to understand, try to, all of that. That's fine. You can try and talk to them. There's no harm in that. I mean, I don't see how they can harm anybody if you can have a discussion. Say, let's have nikah done now instead of 2 years later. Yeah, but yes, make things halal, make things clean, make things blessed. If you want blessings of Allah, then it has to be according to Allah's guidelines. Otherwise, what do you expect? Allah is going to bless you and you're doing haram. Does that even make sense? Yes.
Okay, this one, those last 2 questions. It's actually to do with people of different culture. They're both of different cultures, ethnicities, and they're scared to make it work. How do you approach it?
Yeah, I think that if you're scared, if you're not sure, then you should ask Allah for guidance. Do istikhara. Okay, speak to people, speak to knowledgeable people, speak to people that have married between cultures before, in similar situations to you. Maybe you're different from different languages, from different backgrounds. If that's what you want to do, then speak to people who've tried it before. If it's worked out, if you think that's convincing for you that it's going to work out for your case, then in that case you can go ahead. If it feels like it's not going to work out for you, then khalas, you can make that decision. The decision is completely yours. Okay? And no one can stipulate what to do in that regard, because at the end of the day, Allah has made that halal. That you marry someone of a different language, of a different culture, of a different country, that's no problem. But it is true that the level of understanding between people of the same culture is not the same as the level of understanding from two different cultures. And again, that depends. If you are, for example, if your parents are both brought up in the UK, example, then they will be much more open to you getting married to a person from a different culture, because at the end of the day, they've been brought up here and their culture is now UK culture, it's different. Even though originally she may be from, for example, say Pakistan, and you may be from Egypt or Algeria or Morocco or wherever, or any other country, right? The point is that if it works out in your particular scenario, then khalas, no problem, inshallah. You have to weigh out the pros and cons and have discussions, do istikhara, speak to those who have knowledge and experience.
Last question. How do I control my desires if I cannot get married right now?
Okay, that's in the hadith as well. And I respect you for that question. I respect you sincerely for that question, because it's a very good question. And that's in the hadith. The Prophet told us, first of all, there are many, many elements. First of all, lowering the glance. And lowering the glance doesn't just mean to lower your glance as you look at the floor. Because sometimes you look at the floor and it's still a problem. You know what I mean? You look at the floor and like, look at the sky, look at the sky, and look at the right. It's like fitna is everywhere sometimes. Khalas? So lowering the glance means turn away from the chance of fitna. Right? Sometimes fitna for you could be coming from a video game. Yeah? Sometimes fitna for you could be coming from Instagram or from TikTok. Right? So turning your eyes away, looking down means turning off those things that are things that put you in a situation where you're not in control, that incite your desires, that takes you beyond your control. And that could be anything. You could be watching a basic movie, but you know this movie is going to take you into a problem whereby your shahwa will be incited and you'll be in an uncontrollable situation. You should know yourself. And this goes into the discussion of also of addiction sometimes. You need to abstain and stay away from all of the triggers. That's what it means to lower your gaze. So lower your gaze. If you know that walking through the street at this time of the day is going to cause you fitna, khalas, don't walk through that street. And wallahi, you might think this is not practical, but I know good brothers that have done that and do that. Okay, I give you an example. I know brothers who say, I don't go to Green Street. Do you know what Green Street is? He said, I don't go to Green Street on Saturday during the day. Because he thinks that this is a space where there's a lot of people, and a lot of free mixing and extra, a lot of people. So that's his particular, he knows himself and he abstains, and I respect that. So you might have a different trigger. So abstain those triggers, number one. Number two, you can also control your desires by fasting. But again, fasting, you just say fasting, but what kind of fasting are we talking about? It's talking about the fasting, the third level fasting. Level 3, not level 1 fasting, level 3 fasting. What's level 3 fasting? Does anyone know? Level 1 fasting is not eating and drinking. Level 2 fasting is not eating, drinking, and not sinning. And level 3 fasting is not eating and drinking, not sinning, and not even thinking about sins. Level 3 fasting is the fasting that's going to help you to control your desires. So on the one hand, because you're physically, not so energized, and all the sugar in your body and all the calories are making you super energetic, so that's lowered. And then furthermore, when you control your glance, control your thinking, control your thoughts, try to control your thoughts, then the chance of fitna is very, very small. Furthermore, another element of fasting is, sometimes you're fasting, but at iftar time you're having the craziest of food, like dumping yourself with like so much food, then it's like counterproductive. So that's why guys sometimes say, Akhi, Sheikh, I've been fasting, but it's not helping, it's making it worse. That's probably because you're not fasting right. Okay, so fasting in the correct way, meaning have small suhoor, small iftar, right? So you don't have excess energy, and the incitement of your shahawat is not so easy. We're talking frankly here, you're all grown-ups, and the same would apply for both men and women. We need to turn away from the triggers and control our desires by fasting, and of course, thirdly, by sincere dua. By sincere dua, oh Allah, give me the ability to control my desires. That's 3 steps. I can say more. Remember the favors of Allah upon you. A good way to remember of how to get yourself out of difficult situations, especially when it comes to desires, is remember the story of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam had an opportunity to commit a very big sin, but Allah protected him. But what did he do? What were the steps that he took? Does anyone know what the steps he took? It's in Surah Yusuf. Allah, he says, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَرَّأَى بُرْهَانَ رَبِّي. No, he said, قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ. The first thing that Sayyidina Yusuf ﷺ did in that situation is, Oh Allah, protect me. Oh Allah, protect me. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you. So seek refuge in Allah in a situation of fitna. And then what did he do? إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَاي. He remembers, he says, it is my Lord who has blessed me in so many different ways. So when you feel like committing a sin, what you should do is count the favors of Allah upon you. Say, I am breathing right now because of Allah letting me. How can I commit a sin with the very same eyes that Allah has given me and allowed for me to see with? Remember Allah, if you want to sin against Allah, remember how indebted we are to Allah. You want to sin against Allah, you can't breathe, the oxygen we breathe is Allah's, the heart is Allah's, the eyes are Allah's, the brain is Allah's, the land is Allah's. If Allah wanted, there could have been a quicksand under your ground right now, you could have been finished, swallowed up by the earth. So remember Allah's favors upon you. That's step 2 in the story of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi wasalam. And what did he do afterwards? وَاسْتَبَقَ الْبَابِ. He ran from the situation. Even though the doors were locked, but because he followed the right protocol, the correct tawakkul upon Allah, sought refuge in Allah, remember Allah had favors, and then he ran and the doors automatically opened up as a miracle for Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi wasalam. So this is a similar system we can apply in our life, right? Remember Allah, seek refuge in Allah, remember Allah's favors, and run from the triggers like we said before, fast as well like we said before, and make sincere dua as we said before. Yes?
Brothers, any last questions from the hands? No one? Okay, we'll leave it there, inshallah. Sheikh, Jazakallah here for coming down today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and preserve you. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to implement everything that we've heard today. And keep us all on the Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. To continue forward, inshallah, we're going to pray Asr, and then afterwards we'll have some food, and Sheikh might be around just for a few sort of private questions. But other than that, that is it for today. Jazakallah khair. Should we recite Asr?
Barakallahu fikum. Yes, we're going to recite Surah Al-Asr. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Al-Asr, innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. I just want to say that anything good is from Allah and His Rasul and from the Deen. Any mistakes I've made, please forgive me. I'm a human, maybe I said something in a particular way that you didn't like. Sisters, you're also listening to me. If there's anything I've said you didn't like in a particular way, wallahi, it was probably a genuine mistake. Don't misunderstand me, okay? I came all this way genuinely to give advice to my brothers and sisters, inshallah, to help them to complete one of the most important steps of their life, inshallah, and to prepare them mentally and psychologically. Of course, it's a small nasiha. There's a lot more to study. There's a lot more to read out there. You know, we've done a whole fiqh of marriage series in Darul Ummah Masjid where I work. You can find it on our YouTube channel. Fiqh of marriage series, I think there's about 40 lectures in there. We've also done a fiqh of marriage seminar, which is a 4-part seminar. You can watch it online on Darul Ummah TV YouTube channel as well. So inshallah, there's a lot more out there. If there are any further questions, you can always ask me. Inshallah, I work in the masjid. You can get through to me via the brothers who organize this talk, inshallah. But may Allah accept from all of us. تقبل الله منا ومنكم. سبحانك اللهم أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. And a big Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.